Hello. I ran across your video through the Boring Dispatcher's recent response, and I agree with him. I don't have much to add in that regard. However, I did feel the need to respond because of something I feel like he missed, and I don't think you're aware of it either. You have stereotyped women as well. It's always dangerous to make sweeping declarative statements about a group of people. It can show your own ignorance of diversity. And I'm a feminist by definition. I did not choose the word. I did not define the word. But as a side note, I found it both hilarious and disturbing when I saw on television a reporter go out and question random people on the street. And the question was, how would you define a feminist, or do you know what it means to be a feminist? And as a follow-up question, do you consider yourself one? I was not surprised that all men responded. I mean, in this interview, obviously, I'm not trying to fall into the trap of stereotyping men myself, but all respondents to this reporter, at least that I was shown, of course, not of course, but I was not surprised that they said they weren't a feminist. In fact, I don't think the reporter even cared to ask the men the follow-up question. And men in general were not as willing to define it as women were. But the part that I found hilarious and sad was that there were several of the women who defined the word well. They said, well, it refers to somebody who believes that women should have equal rights with men. And of course their responses varied, but most of them hit upon this core idea, which, feel free to go to dictionary.com or reference.com, or pull a physical dictionary off your shelf and look it up. These certainly are my beliefs. Equal treatment under the eyes of the law. But the disturbing part was that most of these women who knew the definition of it, when asked the follow-up question, said, do you consider yourself a feminist? Said, no, not really. How can this be when the definition is plain enough for you to say it quite accurately, and then to somehow separate the word from the definition so much through societal pressures, I believe, as to not be willing to apply the term to yourself. Anyways, that was a sidetrack. I am a feminist. And so, in defense of my women friends, and I consider all women my friend as I consider all men my friend, until they do something to prove themselves my enemy, of course. women can live without men. I hope you can understand that. There's shitloads of societal pressure to pair up and to move towards reproduction. But there are plenty of examples of women who do not need it. Even just here through YouTube, I've run across a wonderful woman named Heidi who's alone. She's 36, I believe, living alone. And she has decided she doesn't want a man, at least for now. And she has some of her own issues that she's working through. I think a lot of times a relationship can sidetrack us from really dealing with our own issues, whatever they may be. And I question how many people are in a relationship for the primary reason that they're afraid of not being in a relationship. And I wonder how many wish they had better partner, but just think it would be too difficult to find them. Perhaps this is why infidelity is so rampant, because people feel like they need to be paired, and when they encounter someone who makes them realize that their current choice is not ideal, they can't help themselves. I don't know. I certainly don't claim to understand society. But I take great care to avoid making sweeping generalizations that might cause me to be seen as close-minded, bigoted, sexist, racist. Well, that was my main point. Global harmony. Perhaps we shall meet virtually again someday.